Hello and welcome to the Minutes to Win It podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Jason Gobo at jgobo11. Talking about tonight's NBA slate, 7-game slate, perfect size slate. I don't know about perfect amount of superstars. We got you got Curry, you got Davis, we got LeBron. Take your pick of those guys, but you and I were talking though, if we're going to pick one of the three, I think we're both on board with it being Steph Curry. If we're taking two of the three, it's Curry and Davis. Maybe that leaves LeBron as kind of the underappreciated guy in the group, but I mean, it's just so hard in these two particular matchups with Curry and Davis for me not to look at them over LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I mean, they're all pretty much the same price, above 10K there. And, Davis and Curry just by far have the better matchups. And, I mean, Pistons easily, just because LeBron's talent and usage rate, he could drop 60-plus fantasy points whenever he wants against anybody. But, I mean, tonight, it's easily Davis and Curry.
Yeah, and so with that out of the way, because that's obviously the big question any night for anyone who maybe doesn't have time to research, doesn't want to research, that's where we're leaning. But we'll talk about point guard here, other point guard options. And one guy that stands out a lot on DraftKings is Michael Carter-Williams. We mentioned it's not a great matchup against John Wall, but John Wall, more of the pesky type than the guy who's actually an elite defender, because I don't think that he is. And Carter-Williams only 6K there, makes sense. I think he's a contrarian play on FanDuel, but not one I'm rushing after. But on the opposite side, we talk about a guy who's obvious, and it's Dennis Schroeder, again, facing off against Jarrett Jack and company. And he's going to get the start tonight with Bazemore and Teague out. And he's a guy that doesn't have a phenomenal floor, but he's probably going to be the most popular play at any position. He's under 5K. He does have upside as well. So, I mean, this is a guy that if you're playing cash games, you just have to play.
Yeah, Schroeder's the lock for anyone who's rostering both Davis and Curry tonight. You're getting, decent floor, pretty good upside as well. The matchup's great. We were both talking probably 80% of our players that we talked about today have been Brooklyn and Atlanta guys because defenses on both sides have been horrible.
Yeah, I mean, over-under in that game is it's one of the... It's a surprising one at 197. I mean, we've got some other well over 200 games, but, I mean, the fantasy production not as easy to pinpoint in some of those games as it is in this one. So, I mean, if you're a betting person, I don't see how this game doesn't go over. I don't know, unless it turns into a blowout. I just don't see either team blowing either one out. Neither one's been good defensively at all. So, I guess it's more an indication of how unreliable some of the offensive weapons have been rather than the fact that the defense has been good. Elsewhere at point guard, there's not a lot else that I love. I mean, you get Jarrett Jack, who's an okay option in this matchup. He's been great his last two games. Actually, 3 of his last 5, he's had over 40 fantasy points as far as FanDuel is concerned. So he's a guy that's probably going to be pretty popular here. But I think if there's a guy who's been on a hot streak recently that I'm okay with fading in cash games, it's him. But I'll definitely have some pieces in tournaments.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I think Teague's a pretty decent defender. Not great, but I mean, with him out, obviously Schroeder's not going to be a tough a matchup there as well. So, I mean, still at his price and his upside, I do like him for tournaments tonight.
Yeah. There's one other guy that I want to like in tournaments, and it's Emmanuel Mudiay, because New Orleans has been awful at defending point guards, but Mudiay hasn't been much better than awful himself over the last few games. He has those random games where he has the upside, but I mean, Houston, he had 11 assists, so you'd think that would be a great game, but then FanDuel especially with negative 1 point for turnover rather than half a point on DraftKings, you look at the fact that his combined points, rebounds, blocks, and steals added up to 1 more than his number of turnovers. So, I mean, this is a guy with a floor about as similar to mine or yours tonight, and he has upside because it's a good matchup, but he's had a couple games with huge amounts of turnovers. So I think if you're going to take a shot on Mudiay, it's got to be on DraftKings, right?
Yeah, I'm with you there, especially for that scoring system. It's tough. I mean, the matchup is solid. I mean, we've seen pretty much any point guard come into New Orleans and just destroy him. So, I mean, you do like his usage rate, even though he's not shooting the ball well, he's still shooting a ton. So one of these nights, his shot's going to drop and he's going to go off for a monster game. And at these prices, he can definitely change a tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, his minutes been kind of inconsistent, but you expect him to be around 30 or 32 probably tonight there. Shooting guard here, Brad Beal didn't show up to shoot around, or he was not at shoot around, I should say, didn't show up. But it doesn't look like he's going to play tonight. Nothing official, but he's listed as doubtful now. So with him being out, if we're talking strictly on the minutes side, Gary Neal, Garrett Temple are going to be the guys that are going to take on the minutes. But it's kind of been, as you mentioned, we were talking earlier, one guy than the other guy. Neither one really a reliable fantasy option. Temple, not a big guy. Neal, pretty much just a spot-up shooter, not much else. So if you need fillers, you should see both these guys in the 20s in minutes. But you don't feel good about either one. I mean, Gary Neal probably a better option just because he's shooting guard eligible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably with you there just because, last game, we'll have to keep an eye on it. It's a 7 o'clock game, so we'll get that news beforehand, hopefully. But last game it was Temple who played, and he was the one who played a majority of the minutes, while Neal went back to the bench and saw about 16. But I do think, it's probably going to be pretty split because Temple is playing fairly well, and I just don't think the matchup's that great for either of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a guy who seems way overpriced despite the fact that he has 2 good games in a row, Zach LaVine, 40 minutes, had a good game, then 17 minutes, had a ridiculously good game. If you want to point chase, go for it with Zach LaVine. There's no way I would even consider him unless Rubio's out. DraftKings finally jumped his price up. He was under 4K. Now he's over 5. So if Rubio's out, you could throw him in a tournament. That's the guy. We're talking if I have max 250 entries on FanDuel, he's going to be in about 5. And that's if Rubio sits. I just don't like him as a basketball player. I'm not point chasing here.
Yeah, I think he's been... you look at the last game, and that last game is just insane. 17 minutes, and he's putting up 30 fantasy points. I just don't expect that to happen too often. I think at his price range, I'm not willing to take the floor that he has because it's down there, and the matchup's bad anyway. I don't target against Miami pretty much any place.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that last season, Memphis and Atlanta in particular, 2 of the better defensive teams, and now all of a sudden, both teams just getting shredded. So it's a completely different story as far as defense goes in the NBA recently because we even saw Andre Miller come in after LaVine and have himself a pretty nice game against Memphis. So just you can kind of keep those thoughts out of your head. Try to focus on what's happening this year and not think about the past because I'm in no way afraid of Memphis with anyone. Westbrook was a different story, of course. I'm not afraid of him if he's just playing against a brick wall. He'll still find a way to get through that. But elsewhere, shooting guard, it's rough tonight. You got DeMar DeRozan in a game against the Warriors with a high total. You got to love him if you can afford him. He's going to be tough to fit, though, if you're paying up for studs, especially multiple studs. Then on the Golden State side there, you got Klay Thompson is probable. He should be back. But they said back stiffness throughout the season, and he really he's been the guy that's okay, but he's been more of a disappointment than anything else because he just hasn't had that upside. He hasn't had that 37-point quarter that he had last year. He hasn't had, one of those really hot shooting days. And, with him seemingly not 100% still, he's a guy I've hardly played, and I don't really think that's going to change tonight that much.
Yeah, I think I've only played him in one lineup this season. And that's a big difference from last season. I think he just looks like he's not the secondary option behind Curry anymore. It looks like, Harrison Barnes has taken on a bigger role. Draymond Green obviously is a focal point. So he just seems like he's on the back seat of this offense right now. And, until his price comes down, there's no way I'm touching him.
Yeah, and it was a minutes thing for a while. We were seeing him in the mid-20s in the first couple games of the season. But last 4 games he played, 36, 32, 35, 37. Only got to 30 fantasy points once. So I'm with you there. He's kind of in a void for me. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the guy that is a shooting guard on FanDuel, a small forward on DraftKings. I kind of prefer him a little bit more at shooting guard on FanDuel tonight just because shooting guard's a pretty terrible position. And, relative to salary, doesn't have a ton of upside, but I think he's one of the safer floor plays here at shooting guard.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And, we're kind of lucky because really he's just playing small forward. Matchup's great because Washington's, they're dead last against opposing small forwards, which is kind of, once again, they're a good team defense, but that's one of the areas they've struggled. And with the way Giannis is shooting the ball 51% from the field, as long as he can stay out of foul trouble, that's the only thing.
Yeah, he's been very good. And another guy's been very good, Will Barton, right around 5K on both sites. It's a good matchup for him. Really, it's been a hot hand kind of thing still with him. If the shot's falling, he stays in the game. If it's not, he sits on the bench. So he's got a little bit of a risk, but you got to know that he's going to be one of the more popular plays tonight, especially because if you're looking for value at shooting guard and you're not just straight punting with Gary Neal, then it's pretty slim pickings. So you might as well just go ahead and get Will Barton in your lineups there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his last two games.
Yeah, I mean the guy's got massive upside, but he also has a very low floor. But really, with lack of better options as far as cash games go, at least I'm just going to go ahead and slot him in there because he's price relative one of the better ones. Small forward tonight, if you want to pay for LeBron, he's obviously still LeBron James. He's scored 29 or more actual points in 5 consecutive games and 6 of his last 8. He's got an incredible floor. He's got upside, but I mean, he's been your between 40 and 60 fantasy point guy each night. So I think if you're looking for a cash game play, I think he's a fine cash game play. It's not to say I won't play him in tournaments, but if we're talking 70 plus fantasy point upside, I'm still going Curry and Davis because I don't think LeBron, I just don't think he needs to do that. Whereas, these two other guys at times have needed to do that because, you got Steph Curry, we're talking about Klay Thompson. He was number 2 scorer last year. So Curry, while his team is, the best team in the NBA, he still has to score, 30 points in most games when it's close.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Curry in his last game. He didn't have a great game, but still scored 50 fantasy points just about there. And, it's the guy who shot just 31% from 3. I mean, he's just so reliable. I mean, just with him and Davis, they both take over games just like LeBron does. Just LeBron does it in a different fashion, distributing the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's otherwise at small forward. You got Nick Batum locked in his 35 to 40 minutes now, right around in there. He's been shooting hot recently, and he's a guy that's not scoring dependent. So if you are going to pay up a little bit at small forward, he's got to be your safest option there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Because, I mean, really looking at cheaper, there's not much down here. Thabo Cephalosha is probably going to be the guy if you want to punt with just because Bazemore's out tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to be locked into probably around 30 minutes here, upwards of 30 at least. If we see Draymond Green sit out, Andre Iguodala could see close to 30 minutes again, so that could be a nice one. But there's no Jeff Green from last night. There's no that just obvious small forward punt play. So we'll see what else comes out. Obviously, Draymond Green, as we kind of transition to power forward, he's questionable for tonight. We'll see if he goes. Coming off of 2 very Draymond-type performances back-to-back. Triple-double. The guy, when he needs to score, he can score. I mean, he's such a good basketball player. He's just very good at everything. Like, maybe not great at any one thing, but he's just very good at everything. I just love Draymond Green.
Yeah, I mean, his last 2 games are just phenomenal. Just the kind of player. He's been playing through the flu. I mean, this is why he's questionable, and he's out there throwing up triple-doubles. And, look at his blocks, 6 in the last 2 games, 4 steals. I mean, the guy just does it all.
Yeah, and I mean, you want to talk about flu games. I'm fairly certain that Michael Jordan, in his flu game, which I still heard was bad pizza, didn't have a triple-double. Draymond Green's the guy with the triple-double, so step aside, Jordan. Until you get a triple-double with the flu, which I'm fairly certain will never happen now. I mean, Draymond, flu game, over the Michael Jordan flu game, I'm just saying. Anyway, Anthony Davis, of course, going to be playing big minutes. He was doubtful, then he played 40 minutes and just absolutely dominated New York. Not much different of a situation here against a Denver front court that has been one of the worst in basketball for the last couple of years. Kenneth Faried, questionable even for tonight. Even if he does play, you might as well just tell coach you're not feeling too well and sit this one out because, I mean, his best case scenario is foul trouble and hoping for the best against Davis because Davis is a man on a mission this year, and that front court just stands no chance.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do if Faried does sit, because is Randy Foye going to play center?
Will Barton. The guy's been doing it all. Get Will Barton down there on the blocks, giving up, 7-8 inches, probably. Actually, probably 8 or 9 inches to Anthony Davis. That's going to be, it's going to be rough. I mean, it's already a thin front court, so really, they need bodies out there just to pick up fouls, really, against Davis. It's going to be, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I feel like you have to have Davis tonight. Other power forwards, though, if we're talking price relative, not talking about elite superstars, Thad Young really stands out under $6K to me against an Atlanta team that's been terrible at rebounding. If you want to be the game log searcher, he had a great game against them last time, price relative at least, right around 30 fantasy points. I just think it gives you a nice high floor and a little bit of a ceiling as well in this game. And really, you're looking around that price, there's nothing else. I mean, it's Thad Young, and he just is kind of the obvious relative value play around there that's going to play 30 and 35 minutes.
Yeah, and looking at the same price as Porzingis there, you do like the upside more of Young. Marvin Williams questionable, not a terrific ceiling guy like Young is there. So I think he's definitely my preferred value play.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then if you're looking, if if you're looking up top, but not Davis, I really like Chris Bosh against Minnesota. Already had a huge game against him once. Dwayne Wade not playing, the type of minutes that he was accustomed to. I don't imagine he's going to be a 35, 40-minute a game guy again this year, but Bosh has been in the mid-30s in minutes here, and I mean he's been very productive recently. So he's definitely established himself as the new LeBron in Miami, because he's actually allowed to be the focal point now. Moving over to center here, as you look at it, it looks pretty straightforward. It's Brook Lopez against Atlanta as the guy you want, especially on DraftKings where he's $900 cheaper than he is on FanDuel. Great matchup. I mean, et cetera, et cetera. They haven't been good. They can't rebound. Brook Lopez just makes a ton of sense here.
Yeah, I mean, I keep making lineups here early in the day, and I just start with Brook Lopez, as well as Curry. I mean, he's just lumped in as one of the better plays tonight in this matchup where Atlanta can't rebound, they can't play defense. I mean, Lopez already torched him, went 27-11 against him earlier this season.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just he feels like the obvious safest play. I mean, obviously you got Al Horford on the other side, who is the problem with Al Horford is he had a great game against them last time. He's a guy that has a nice high floor, but he just rarely sees big minutes. I mean, you look at his last 7 games, he's played over 30. He's played over 30 minutes just 3 times, and it was 31, 32, and 33. So the issue with Horford is not the fact that he can produce when he's on the court. It's just even in close games, he's not going to see 35, 38, 40 minutes. So that kind of gets me off him a little bit there. You got Karl Anthony Towns against Hassan Whiteside. That just sounds like a good way to get in a lot of foul trouble on both sides, because both guys tremendously talented, big upside, but also low floors if they get in foul trouble. So I can't feel good about playing either one of them in lineups. And then as far as minutes go, Andrew Bogut, big minutes, big production last game, but I just don't know we can rely on him for that either. So maybe 25 minutes for Bogut tonight, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're hoping if you want to log him in as a value play, because, he does have upside. He rebounds well, block shots. We saw it last game, but I can't bank on 30 minutes for him. It's just a rare thing for Bogut.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of those guys, there's really no one that stands out as a great play. You've got Marcin Gortat, another one of those guys that productive when he's on the court but doesn't see big minutes. I mean, he hasn't played over 28 minutes in any of his last 7 games. So he gives you a decent floor. It's an okay matchup for him. But 6K just seems very GPP for me for a guy that's probably going to play 26 to 28 minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for us here. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out the rest of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.